Hello, it's Valerie from Shalebrook Handcrafted Soaps in Moser River, Nova Scotia. And I've been asked by a few people how I divvy up my lye liquid amount that I use to put all these different things in that sometimes I do. Well, most of the time I do, I guess. So this video today is going to be about that, and it's going to, I'll show the entire video. Depends on how fast the cook goes. I'll maybe bring you back now and then like I've done before, so it doesn't go through the entire process. But this video is going to be a bit longer because of explanations here and there. So this formula that I'm making today is oatmeal, goat milk, and honey, and I've made it many times over 4 years, and I've revamped it now and then, and I actually revamped it again today. I had a lovely lady, a lovely soaper, that sent me a surprise package in the mail, and that surprise package happened to be Angora fiber from her Angora rabbits, and it's loaded with keratin, and the keratin is fantastic for your skin, for healing properties for your skin. So I wanted to say hello to Jen Olson of she's called Gentle Soaps Essential Oils, and I just wanted to say, hey Jen, thank you so much, and I'm going to use this today in this soap. So I took some of that, and it acts similar to silk, this fiber, so it actually dissolved way faster than the silk fiber does, I found. So that actually is in my calendula and plantago and marshmallow root tea, which I add in this. So thank you, Jen, and I really appreciate it. So this is going to be a 3-pound batch, and I did it at 38% lye liquid, and the amount was 18.25 ounces. I divvied that up because there's a lot of stuff I want to put in this, but I want to make sure I have enough liquid for my lye to dissolve in. My lye amount was 6.5 ounces. So what I did for this, I used 7 ounces of that tea blend that I made, and 2 ounces of aloe vera juice, and that I mixed up, and I dissolved my Angora fiber in it, and my lye is in it now, and it's ready to mix up as soon as I get finished explaining this. And then I'm going to add 3 ounces of coconut milk, and I saved aside 1 ounce to put in with my goat milk powder. I used to have fresh goat's milk. I used to have goats, but now I'm using goat milk powder. So I'm saving that 1 ounce to mix up with my goat milk powder. I am putting an egg yolk in this batch today as well. And I have 4.25 ounces of cooked, strained oatmeal right here, ready to put in. So that's all part of that 18.25 ounces of lye liquid. The other thing I'm adding in this today is I'm putting in 3 tablespoons of honey mixed with 2 tablespoons of aloe vera juice. I don't discount that. I'm putting in 3 tablespoons of yogurt. I do not discount that. And 3 tablespoons of sugar with 2 tablespoons of aloe vera juice. I do not discount that either. And I'm using 5% sodium lactate in this, which is fantastic for your skin, but it also helps to harden the bar. So how your soap comes out is going to depend on your ingredients, your conditioning number, your hardness number. I like my soaps to be high conditioning and low cleansing, which means that doesn't mean it doesn't clean, it doesn't dry out your skin. This is going to be super fatted up front at 5% with an extra 3% after the cook. And that amounts to about 1.45 ounces, which is going to be shea butter, mango butter, and a tablespoon of sea buckthorn oil in there as well. And this is going to be an all-natural soap, what people like to call an all-natural soap. And I hope to do ribbons of cocoa powder, zinc oxide, and a mixture of carrot and orange powder in there as well. And I'll show you that when I'm going to design the soap. So now my oils are in here and they're heating, and now I'm going to temper my egg, because before you use your egg yolk or any egg, you should temper it. Some people, actually, I just found out from Shelley McNeil Moyes, and she I think she's called Shelley's Gardens, Anyway, she said something the other day that she actually, for hot process soap, she mixes up her egg like you would cold process. And then she puts that whole batch in the crock and cooks it. So she would mix up her egg just like she would for CP, for cold process. For me personally, I temper that egg with oils. I guess it wouldn't be tempering because they're not heated, but I still mix it with my oils before adding in CP. But there's another way you can do things. So there's no one right way. It's just however you like to do it. So I'm not sure if my husband is going to shut that off, and yeah, he's going to shut the camera off, and then he's going to hook it up, and you're going to come back and watch me temper the egg and add the rest of my ingredients to this soap. Always make sure that you have safety gear, because you never know. So eyeglasses and rubber gloves. Okay, we'll be back in just a couple seconds. So here's my egg yolk in there, and these oils right now are not that hot. They're about 139 Fahrenheit, and I'm just going to add a tablespoon at a time while I stick blend this. I end up usually adding about 1 cup of oils. And the reason why you do this is because you don't want that yolk to cook. And egg yolk is full of protein, and it has fat in it, and it's really good for your skin. It helps make lather as well. And these are eggs that my husband actually got this morning from our chickens out there, those wonderful chickens of mine. And so I have my coconut milk warmed up and my goat milk. I have oatmeal powder I'm going to put in as well with some kaolin clay, and I have my cooked strained oatmeal. And all of that is going to go in here before I add my lye liquid. So I'm just going to unhook that one. And I'm actually just going to put this oatmeal in with that yolk as well. I'm going to put on my glasses. And I'm going to stick blend this in. I'm going to put my powder in there. going to check the temperature on that. Okay, so that's about 136 Fahrenheit. And that lye is about 157. So this will probably be a slower process because of that. And I'm going to strain this just because if there's any fibers that didn't get mixed up, then I want to make sure I catch them. And I'm just going to get my, this is a real thick concentrate of that goat milk, because I'm putting those in right after I put the lye in. So those are going to go through the cook. Sometimes I'll save some for after the cook. There's different ways that you can do things with adding your ingredients. Now I'm going to add my milks into this. And you'll see that that's going to change color because of the egg and because of the goat milk. And this batter is probably going to separate because of the oatmeal and the egg and the goat milk. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just finish stick blending that, and I'm going to cover it up, and I'm going to shut the camera off, and I'm going to time this for about 5 minutes. If anything happens in between that time, I'll bring you back and I'll just talk a bit more about the stuff that I added. So here we are back, and you can see that I have it covered up and it's in there cooking. The crock pot is on warm because this is going to be a low temperature and a slower cook than high temperature hot process. And not that that's bad. That can be a good thing. High temperature doesn't make the soap any better. It just cooks it faster, that's all. What I wanted to say was, you don't have to use everything I use. And you can make whatever tea blend you want. I really like calendula and plantago tea together, and marshmallow root is good for skin, it's good for hair. So I just changed that up to that tea blend today. And you don't have to use all the ingredients I use at all. I just love my soap, and I get really good reviews from my customers and clients. And that's what's in it to me. It's less important to what the soap looks like than to how it treats my skin. The other thing I wanted to say was, it sounds like a lot of stuff that gets put in that's not discounted. And it actually is. But depending on how soft your formula is, and depending on if you use salt in it or sodium lactate, that can make the difference in how hard your bar will be. For me personally, I'm not interested in a brick hard bar of soap. That's probably one of the lower things on the list I look for. I've used a lot of soaps, homemade soaps over my life, and actually never found any that helped my skin better than my oil of Olay until about 4 years ago, when a woman in Georgia Darlene Kelly gave me some of her soap, and I actually got home and I said, wow, now this is what homemade soap should be. So I know for a fact that not all homemade soap is created equal, and not all homemade soap will help your skin. Personal opinion, and that's not to offend or anything, that's just what I have found out. So when I started to make homemade soap, my number one thing was to make it conditioning and low cleansing, which doesn't mean that it doesn't clean. It means it doesn't strip your skin. And so I like to super fat my soaps high to it, unless it's a shampoo bar or unless it's a cast oil bar, then I don't do that. But those are different types of bars. So this formula right here, the INS is 138 and the hardness number is 38, which is a really good, to me, a good number. And using the 5% sodium lactate with that, this bar will, you know, depending, it always has been able to be sold within 2 weeks. And I'm happy about that. So I'm not looking for a brick hard bar of soap that lasts 12 months or even 6 months. I think that if you buy a good bar of soap that treats your skin good, that leaves it not itchy and not dry and helps it out, if that bar of soap lasts you 1 month, I think that's awesome. And if you bath every day or shower every day, how hard your water is, how soft it is, that will make a difference in how long your soap will last as well. The other thing I wanted to say is I'm timing this for 10 minutes and we'll see what happens. But I can see by looking here, and I don't know if you can, that is starting to separate, which is very normal for adding egg and oatmeal to the soap. So what we'll do is, it's got a couple more minutes to go on the timer, I think. No, okay. So we got about 34 seconds left on the timer to bring it to 10 minutes. And normally I would just let this continue to cook, but I'm going to take a look at it to see where we're at with this. And yeah, as you can see, that is almost all separated. And what I'm going to do with that is I am going to take my stick blender and I'm going to stick that black so it's all back together again. And I'll start off so you can see me doing it, but sometimes, depending on how hot your temperatures are, if your temperatures are really hot, that'll come back together really quick. If your temperatures aren't hot, then it might take a bit longer, like maybe 3 minutes. So I'm going to start to do it, and once I get it back together, if I see that it's just going to take a bit, then I'm going to shut the camera off, and I'll bring it back when I have it together, and I'll let you know how long it took me to do that. Which I'm going to put my glasses on because I don't have them on, because this stuff can sputter out at you and you don't want that stuff in your eyes. Okay, so here we are back, and that's about 3 minutes it took me to bring that back together. So you can see the difference, what it looks like now. And that's about 200 degrees in there, and it doesn't take long. Okay, so something just happened there, and I was explaining to you it only took 3 minutes to bring that back from complete separation. And then the memory chip went dead on the camera. It was full. I guess the memory chip was full because we didn't think to check that. So my sincere apologies, because what you missed was, even though this wasn't even quite at 200 degrees, I was cleaning off the blender and talking about it, and the stick blender, I was cleaning it off, and this started to volcano, so which really surprised me because it wasn't really that hot enough, but you got the milk in there, you got the egg in there and things like that. So what I did was, because I'm always watching my crock pot, I was able to catch that volcano and use a whisk, and I whisked it down, and it actually whisked into potato stage, and then actually some of it was Vaseline. So my husband's got the camera working again, and I'm explaining that now, and I'm really sorry because it would have been nice for you to see that. But as it is, it's been about my husband had to get another chip, but it's been about 5 minutes, and my crock is unplugged, but it's still really hot, and it's actually all Vaseline stage. Well, it looks like it is to me anyway from here. And the other thing I wanted to say was when you put plastic wrap on your crock and it's in a the electric part, make sure you don't stick it to the electric part, because depending on your crock, it can melt onto it, and I found that out the hard way. So there's something else. So where we're at right now is I am heating up my super fat, and I'm heating up my sugar with the aloe vera juice. And as soon as that's heated up, I'm going to add it here, and I'll show you that. I'm just going to check it now because it's in hot water on the stove here, and it's not quite heated up yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut the camera off, and as soon as that's heated up, I'll bring you back. So here we are back, and that was probably less. It's probably about a minute, and I'm going to put my super fat in. And this is my sugar mixed with the apple cider vinegar. And apple cider vinegar helps with lather, but it's also antibacterial and antifungal. Just good for your skin. And I'm going to mix that in. This is all Vaseline, and I actually checked to make sure there was no lye in that, and there's no lye in that. And some people don't bother doing that. That's up to you. But if you're selling soap, or if you're giving it away to family and children, I would encourage you to make sure you check the pH level of your soap. You don't want anybody to get hurt by it, because it's easy, so easy to make mistakes. So that was the super fat and the sugar. And I'm going to add my yogurt in here, which this is a 3-pound batch, and this is 3 tablespoons of plain Greek yogurt.
Room temperature.
And that's at room temperature, or you can add it cool. You just want to make sure that you get that completely stirred in. And then what I'm going to do with this, because I still have the honey to add to it, but I want the property of the honey in it this time, so I'm going to wait till that gets down under 175 before I add it. So when that temperature on this is at 175, I will bring you back and I will show you me adding the honey, and we'll go from there. Hello. The other thing I just forgot was when I was mixing in that yogurt and the sugar, I forgot to put my sodium lactate in, which was setting right here. So as soon as the camera was shut off, I saw it, and all I did was took the plastic off and mixed the sodium lactate back in. So I'm just going to take this out of the crock right now. Because it's ready to go, the pH is checked, and it's under 175. And this is my honey and aloe vera juice. This is raw honey, it's not been pasteurized. And I'm just going to mix that in. When you're adding honey, it's up to you how you want to do it. The reason why I put aloe vera juice or water with it is it helps it to mix all throughout the batter, and you don't get places where you see honey. Not that that's a bad thing, I guess. Some people put it in like you would mica. So you can see how loose that is. Yeah, it might thicken up. I make the same formula, actually. I make the same formula, but make it a scented soap, and the fragrance I use in that one is oatmeal, or is milk and honey, I think it's called. and it darkens the soap to a dark brown. I'm just going to show you the design I'm going to do today, and it's going to be what I call my design that I do is called the pour and stop. And I'm going to be using cocoa powder, zinc oxide, and a carrot and an orange powder to color the soap. My husband actually is videotaping, and he's helping me as well with passing me things from off the stove. Now these containers here I heated up with hot water because everything goes towards making a batter that's manageable, that you can, in hot process, that you can make designs with. Thank you. So there we go, they're all mixed up. This actually smells wonderful. Just the natural smell of it. And I even heat up my my spoons in hot water in a frying pan over there. I don't know if you can see that. This color actually, probably the orange and carrot, it fades pretty quick and it won't make a stark contrast. But that's okay. The other thing I do is I keep a spray bottle with hot water in it, and when you're doing certain designs in hot process, this is my cocoa that I'm putting in there right now. With hot process, that little bit of spray of hot water can really help out in doing the design. Now normally what I would do, just ixnay that comment, I wasn't actually going to cover those with plastic wrap. With what I'm going to do with this, you'll see in a minute, even though I'm mixing them up in these cups, this is my zinc oxide. And zinc, I find zinc real hard to get mixed up so you don't get specks in it. So I mixed this up this morning, this afternoon right now, with a tiny bit of glycerin and some water, and put it next to that hot frying pan. And I'm hoping that'll help to get rid of those little spots that sometimes you might get with zinc. And this here is my orange and carrot powder, orange peel powder, and carrot powder. That's definitely not going to make too much a difference in that color, but that's all right. So now what I'm gonna do with the pour and stop is I have a really big bowl. And in that bowl I had hot water. And I'm going to just, it would be like an in the pot swirl, basically, what you start off with. Can you see that, Brian? Mm-hmm. So you just layer the soaps individually. Actually, I'm just going to take the plastic right off of those. Am I hitting the way? So with the hot spray, if you see some of that getting hardening up like that, you can just give it a spray on top. Same within here. Do I have the bowl too far away? I wondered if I had that bowl too far away. And this design actually, what you get from this design can depend a lot on how you cut it. And I'll show how I cut that. I've already done one design like this and put it on called Cotton Candy. And that video is on YouTube, so you can see how that is basically designed. It makes different than from, even though I love swirling, it makes a difference in the designs that you can get. So I'm just going to pour the rest of this in there. After I get it all done, I'll need my mold next. And I see I just spilled some batter there. And I'm going to show you how I pour this. I'm just going to give that a quick, and I actually don't stir that inside. Can you tell me if you can see that? Might be a little tricky, me pouring this. Usually, can you see it? So what I normally do is just pour like this, and I stop it, Pour and stop, pour and stop. And I'm just going to bang that down on the floor. See if I can't get some more out of here of this stuff. And I'm going to spray that top. And then I have a wooden chopstick over here that's in hot water. And I'm just going to do what I call like some curly cues on top of that. Doesn't really matter this top what that top looks like because it's not going to be the top when I cut it, so. And that's my oatmeal, honey, and goat milk soap with all those additives, with egg, and how I do that. And when I go to cut this, I'll bring you back and show you the cut. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this. Bye-bye. Hi everyone, we're back. The soap was molded, and I put it, I just let it set for about 15 minutes, and then I put it in the freezer. It was about 4 hours. And I just took it out of the freezer, and what I'm going to do is I took this 3-pound loaf, and setting up this way, I would cut it into 1-inch pieces. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to cut that into 4 pieces, and I'll show you how I cut it from there. So this color that you're going to see right now, it will probably darken up a bit. And the yellow part with the carrot powder and the orange peel powder didn't come out as dark. And you can't really see the zinc oxide either, but that should show up later. That's just one piece of it. So I'm going to cut them all in blocks like that. And then I'm going to show you how I cut the stop and pour design. You can cut it however you like. There's many different ways you can cut it, and you can just cut it in 1-inch slices if you like. Okay, now when you're cutting the pour and stop design, there's a couple of different ways you can cut it to get a different look of the design. So if all of this log was together, all of these would be together like that, and it would make 3 pounds, and normally you would cut 3 slices from each piece. And that's the normal way to cut a log. When you're doing the stop and pour design, there's a couple of different ways you can cut it. And that is, instead of cutting it normally, you can cut it this way. So cutting it down that way. It gives you a different perspective of the design. Or you could set it this way and cut it down this way. 3 ways. So normally you cut like this. I'm going to cut this one like that. So what you do is you just take your ruler and so normally you'd cut this way. I'm going to cut down that way. And the first thing I'm going to do is just, that's 3.5 inches. And because I've done this before, I basically know where to mark my soap. So I have a big Turkish Kungel out there, and he's barking for his mummy to let him in. Okay, so like I said, normally you would cut it this way, but I'm going to flip it and cut it down as in it would look lengthwise on the mold. Just excuse my head there. That doesn't look right to me, so I'm going to measure twice, cut once. Okay. And this is it. You're not going to see it really good with this because of the colors are so light, but if you do darker colors, then you'll definitely see how that can look pretty cool. Like I said, you can't really see it here, but there's one, and that will lighten up. I'm not going to cut all the bars for you. I just wanted to show you the different ways that you could cut. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish cutting all of these, and I will post pictures of the cut on the video, so you'll be able to see them. So thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you enjoy the formula, and I hope you enjoy seeing the video. Thank you very much from Mosher River. Bye-bye.